Yeah, câu Nguyễn.
Yes, thầy. Nam mô Sakyamuni Buddha. Nam mô Sakyamuni Buddha. Nam mô Sakyamuni Buddha.
Okay. All right. So yeah, we skip since April 16. So we skip almost 3 months.
Wow.
Yeah. Cô Thông Nguyễn, can you read this?
Yes, thầy. At the time, Sakyamuni Buddha said to many treasure Buddha, "This Bodhisattva wonderful sounds wish to see you." Then many treasure Buddha addressed wonderful sound, saying, "Excellence, excellence, you have come here in order to be able to offer alms to Sakyamuni Buddha and to listen to the Lotus Sutra and see Manjushri and others." At that time, the Bodhisattva flowers Victor said to the Buddha, "World honest one, this Bodhisattva wonderful sounds, what good roots had he planted? What benefit has he cultivated that he possesses these supernatural powers?"
Đúng rồi.
I think I understand that the Sakyamuni Buddha was explaining about the Lotus Sutra, and the many treasure Buddha asked the wonderful sounds Bodhisattva about what did he plant to have the chance to listen to this Lotus Sutra.
Yeah. So the Bodhisattva wonderful sound, right?
Yeah.
He want to come here to see Shakti Buddha and many treasure Buddha. So that's why Shakti Buddha say that many treasure Buddha, this Bodhisattva wish to see you. So this Buddha mentioned that okay, you come here to offer the to Shakti Buddha, especially to listen to this sutra and Masui and other Bodhisattva. And so this one Bodhisattva from Ascendi, Bodhisattva flower virtue asked Buddha why this wonderful sound Bodhisattva have this type of good tooth. So how could he possess all kind of supernatural power? Right? So let's start with this question here. Yeah. Can we please?
The Buddha replied to Bodhisattva flower virtual, "In ages past, there was a Buddha named Cloud Thunder Sound King Tathagata Arhat Samyak Sambuddha. His land was called Manifesting All Worlds, and his kalpa was called Gladly Seen. For 12,000 years, the Bodhisattva Wonderful Sound employed 100,000 types of musical instruments to provide an offering to the Buddha Cloud Thunder Sound King. And he also presented to him 84,000 alms bowls made of the 7 treasures. In recompense for these actions, he has now been born in the land of the Buddha Pure Flower Constellation King Wisdom and possesses these supernatural powers." Yeah, so at this level of teaching, super interesting, because the questions are like pretty far removed from our daily concerns. In this case, these are like privileges to be wondering about these sorts of questions for these bodhisattvas. Like instead of wondering about, okay, how can I curb my desire? They're just curious about, how did this bodhisattva like have these characteristics. What are the particular causes that led to that? But perhaps they want to cultivate the same causes. And I mean, truly astounding, amazing, kind of unimaginable feats. This 12,000 years of making music with 100,000 types of musical instruments and 84,000 alms bowls made of the 7 treasures. So it's because it is, I think, just the core question of why is there a difference between appearances of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and why is there a difference in their characteristics? It makes sense. It matches with everything else that, well, they would have a different karma that came from different actions in the past. And that his name is Wonderful Sound makes sense, given that he has these roots of giving, making offerings through sound.
I remember I watched a cartoon about the follower of the Buddhas. So there's one fat monk. He carried a bowl. I think that's made by some type of jewel, some type of precious metals. So he carried this bowl around to bake for food. So whenever he came to the house, people close the door and run away from him. Come back here to this passage. So this Bodhisattva offered 84,000 ambols made of 7 treasures. It's total opposites with Theravada tradition, right, William? Like, so the bowl should be simple, not made by 7 treasures. But here, in this kind of Mahayana Sutra, totally opposites. Why is that? In the right tradition, it's so simple. You're supposed to have a wooden or even aluminum bowl. I have seen in Thailand, and that's all you need to have a simple life. But here, this sutra mentioned about this kind of arm bowls. This is so elaborated. It's so precious. Yes, why is that?
Well, the reason the Buddha made the guidelines and rules he did, it was matching the world in which the monks lived. So, and it's very pragmatic in the sense of in order for the Dharma to flourish throughout many years and spread, well, people needed to honor and respect the monks and nuns. And so the rules were their ability to follow the rules was really a demonstration of their commitment, of their devotion, and that they weren't attached to appearances. But in this example, you're talking about this Bodhisattva was in the land of this Buddha. So it was actually living in a Buddha land, and the kalpa is called Gladly Seen. And I imagine this Buddha land is a lot different than the world we find ourselves in. So in that sort of world where people aren't going to have doubt about the teachings of the Buddha, and there is just generally purity, then the best usage of precious things would be towards like the most precious of things, which would be this unsurpassed way, the great way. It would be the ultimate thing to give to, the only thing that really had like true meaning. So in the Theravada, they don't really talk about other Buddha lands. That concept's not discussed. But I think it is a good way to point out that these rules are relative in the sense that in other contexts, even if we just say imagined another world, that in that world, there would be different things we would need to do in order to be in alignment with the true Dharma. But part of, the core of it is compassion for living beings. So the actions, the guidelines need to be in alignment with that, so that living beings then have a favorable impression of the Buddha, the Buddha's teachings, the Dharma, and the Sangha.
Yeah, that's wonderful explanation. How about Cô Thông Nguyễn? What do you think?
So I think that to understand the meaning of this text is the in Theravada, most of the time people take it directly from the Sakyamuni Buddha as a Siddhartha from his human life as a Siddhartha, and then become Sakyamuni Buddha. So they take things very simple, but in Mahayana, most of these texts are saying about how much probably did the same actions, but the merits and so in here it states 100,000 type of musical instruments, and also present him 84,000 arm bowls. Is 84,000 arm bowls? They are 80,000 way that beings learning and practicing and improve themselves through the teaching of Sakyamuni Buddha. And what we see as luxury and contradict with Theravada is actually they add more. I don't know how to explain this, but in Mahayana, this show how much appreciation for that actions, for that simple action is to that one have when they actually can learn about the Lotus Sutra.
Tammy, you read the Amitabha Sutra and you read the Earth Store Bodhisattva Sutra, and of course this one. So what do you think about my question, Tammy? Does this go beyond our human thinking or into different paradigms?
Yeah, and I think that's why it's so interesting, because it does go beyond human thinking. So that's what's kind of, you're not talking in normal terms, you're not talking in normal numbers, you're talking in unthinkable amounts and quantities. And that's what this shows here, is the amount of giving, the quantity that's even available to hand out is just unbelievable and unimaginable. So to be able to have that generosity is unthinkable to us, or even those, and they wouldn't even be alms bones to be used, because they have so much, they wouldn't even really need them for alms. So it just highlights just the quantity of, I guess, stuff that's actually available and that's out there, where you don't have to have that mindset of just trying to survive for yourself. Where in the other tradition, it's you're getting your alms for today to survive, to feed yourself. Where the other side, there's enough for everybody.
Yeah, Thầy Giáo Pháp, you there? Anyway, so Thầy mở can what do you think about this question?
Question gì Which one? Which question?
Mm.
Can you ask one more time?
You follow the question?
No, I'm busy with something else. No, not yet.
Okay, the question is as a monk, right? We need to have a simple life, right? So
Yes.
have either aluminum bowl or wooden bowl or ceramic bowl, that's all. But here, this Bodhisattva offer the Buddha's 84,000 bowls make up 7 treasures. Is that in contradiction with the Buddha rules? The Buddha enjoy those kind of 7 treasures bowl.
Ah. So maybe he have more than one to use.
Mm.
So basically, it's I don't think it's there is some other meaning. The Buddha only need one, and I don't think he need more than one. But the quantity in here is represent for that. So the Bodhisattva, so the most sincere. That means the hit mind is so sincere for the offer. But the Buddha, remember when the Buddha he just enlightened, he just got enlightened, right? And he did not have the bow yet. The 4 heavenly king came down, and each one of them up for the bow. And what he did he said, I can only have one bow. I cannot. The Buddha cannot have more than one bow. What he do it? He used his spiritual power, merged the 4 into one. So basically, he accept the offer from all the. That means he accept the mind offer. So and after that, he just used one. That mainly.
Yeah. William, you remember your student from Vietnam? What's her name? Phi Anh, right? Remember? Medical
Yes,
student?
she's in medical school.
Yeah, medical student. Before we found out during the COVID-19, she used her cell phone to do her homework. So later on, we gave her an Apple laptop. She's so delightful. She's so happy for that. And have you seen, Tammy? Have you seen how they live around that area? They build a house within the cemetery. You seen that, Tammy? You seen that, like William?
Yeah, I've seen documentaries about that.
Yeah, Tammy, you seen that, right?
No,
Oh, you have not seen that?
I remember you talking about one of the students. The house was like right by cemetery.
Yeah.
And I went back to where I used to work because there's a street that's like right, their backyards are right back up right to a cemetery too. It's weird. It's a lot. And when I was looking for rental properties, a lot of rental properties are right by graveyards.
Really?
I noticed because that was like one of my big things. I don't want to be by a cemetery. And a lot of them, even if it doesn't look like it on a map, a lot of them are right next to cemeteries.
Actually, just next to the cemetery, but these houses from those poor children, their houses located right in between, inside the cemetery, not nearby, but inside. So you have not seen that video clip, huh? Tammy?
No, I haven't seen that.
We'll shut back. Anyway, my point is for those people in the poor country, right, financially, materially, their views applies different from here. William, you got my point, right? So for us, there's no way for us to live within that cemeteries, right? Build a house, build a hut, and stay there. But for them, that they have no choice because they're so poor. Yeah, so their view is different from ours. And also, I remember that when they record my lecture, somehow Buddhist monks now in Vietnam, they criticize me. I'm so rich that I have an Apple laptop. Yeah, so they don't understand what we live here. So laptop is, yeah, yeah, this is cost around $1,000, but we need for our work. But for them, it's too much. It's still beyond their ability to buy for Buddhist monks and nuns. That's what they see. And come back to this question, yes, for the Theravada monks, for Arhat, that's all they need to have. That's all they see. But for Bodhisattva and Buddha, they are on different paradigms. So that's why no strength, nothing strange that this Bodhisattva offer all kind of beautiful things to the Buddha, 84,000 ambo, made of 7 treasures. It represents the purity. It represents the, not the richness, but represent the wholesome karma of that type of Buddha land. That let's go beyond our human thinking. Like we compare ourselves in this country with other poor country. Like when you went down to South America too, right? This is quite different paradigms of those people who live down there. So one day when Ananda, I think I used to tell this story. Asked the Buddha, why do you appear on this earth? It's so impure. This earth is so impure. We have all kind of bad karma. So the Buddha smiled and say, well, yeah, for you, you see that's impurity, but for me, everything is pure. So he touched his hand down to the rock while he was sleeping, and all the rock turned into golden color. The rock turned into gold and shine a bright light. So the point is that for us, for common people, because we have all kind of impure mind, so we see everything is impure. But for them, for Buddha and Bodhisattva, because their mind is so pure, whichever thing they see, whichever thing happen, they see everything in the elaborate way. They see everything beautiful way. That's what this is mentioned about here. Yeah. Okay. It makes sense, William? What do you think?
It does make sense that really, because I mean the mark of a bodhisattva is really radical compassion, and that over practicing radical compassion over many lifetimes, that eventually one would generate impressive blessings, makes sense. And I think, you know, we clearly see that just someone having blessings doesn't mean that in this life they're currently doing good work, but nor can it mean that they're not doing good work. It really could go either way. So I think we see over and over examples of withholding judgment, that, like, you know, there's a role for judgment if we're going to follow someone and learn from them. But when, you know, if we're not, it's even easier to, I'd say, withhold judgment. And I mean, and so in like Tibetan teachings, they specifically outline how to assess a teacher, and that once one is assessed, once they're done assessing, then they stop, and they like don't, you know, then every, you know, 5 years after working with a teacher, continually like assess them and judge them. Then in the beginning there's a role for it, but in, you know, in others, the role for judgment would be even lower, I would say. I mean, within the Sangha, it's pretty clear that anybody who's practicing the Buddha way, that ideally we have nothing to say like negative about them. That's pretty clear in the Brahma Net Sutra.
Okay, good. Yeah. All right. So okay, so let's move on then. Yeah, thầy Giáo Pháp, you there? Read this one, please. Cannot hear you. Mm.
You cannot hear me?
It's okay now. Yeah, go ahead.
Stop at that time?
No, flower virtual.
Huh. The flower virtual. What is your opinion? The Bodhisattva wonderful self who at that time make mystical offering to the Buddha, cloud, thunder, sound king, and presented him with the true vessel. Were he someone unknown to you? In fact, he's some other than the Bodhisattva and the Mahasabha, wonderful self, who is here now. Another.
Yeah, that's enough now.
That's enough?
Mm.
Also, there's the flower virtual Bodhisattva. That means the Buddha asked the virtual, loud virtual about the question. What is your opinion? Bodhisattva, wonderful, who had made at that time making the musical offering to the Buddha, loud and so basically, what that is, was he unknown or in what he is some other than the body? Okay, so I'm not clear what he's talking about the bottom.
Okay. So yeah, the wonderful self Bodhisattva is the one that make offer to Buddha, cloud, the sound king. So anyway, so we have studied the part that the Buddha make the decision to most of his disciples, like Shariputra, Mongoliana, Anand, and so forth. They will be Buddha in future, but all of them, Buddha say that whether they become Buddha sooner or later, on the way, while they walking on the Buddhist path, they would make offerings to all kind of Buddhas in the future. So again, that's what different between Mahayana principle and Theravada principle, right? So before become a Buddha, they need to explore to all kind of Buddha in the past. So it makes sense, right? Cô Thân Nguyễn, right? Like before you become a professor or become engineer, right? Chief engineer or manager, you need to deal with those type of engineer or chief engineer or manager before you become one, right?
Yes, right. I think this logical because I was actually a technician, and then I must work with different engineer fields, from electrical to mechanical, metrology, optics, different engineers. Then now I become an engineer myself, and I have the knowledge from them. But all the knowledge that I have come from in the past that I will study with them, working with them, and share the knowledge with them.
So logical. But tell me, before you become a CPA, right? You explore have some sort of connection with those past CPA, right?
Yeah, so just the people that I worked with, for sure.
There's nothing trend then. How about you, William?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, that's a real essential part of becoming a doctor, is learning from other doctors. And generally we're put in roles where we have to be very humble. You know, we're not supposed to ask when we get to leave. We may be there for 14 hours in a day. We might have to do nights for a week and then do days for a week. We might have to be on call. and we just do whatever the doctor that we're with tells us to do. So if he tells us to like hold a retractor, we have to hold the retractor. It's so there definitely is, they really demand humility, and not being humble is a really good way to do badly on a rotation and decrease your likelihood of getting into the residency you want to. So that's similar.
So that's why they have rotation and residency, right? So it's be rare for people to be kicked out of the program, or it happened.
Really rare, yeah. There was someone here in Indianapolis who that happened to. But to be kicked out, I mean, that's very serious, because like, I don't know, I should probably wait for Tay to give the response.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, really rare. I only ever know, I think there may have been one other, but the only one I can think of off the top of my head that I've heard of is there was actually someone who I taught at school at Marian University, because I taught at the local osteopathic college for a few years. And he was in a family medicine residency here, and a man accused him of sleeping with his wife. And the woman denied it. He denied it as the resident, but the residency program, I guess, looked into it and kicked him out.
Really?
So it takes something really serious for that to happen. And that's the only case of it I can recall.
Yeah. Not for Bodhisattva. Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's see here. Tammy, would you like to read, please?
Flower virtue. This Bodhisattva, wonderful sound, has already made offerings to and waited on an immeasurable number of Buddhas. Long ago, he planted the roots of virtue and encountered hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, millions of natas of Buddhas, equal in number to the sands of the Ganges. Flower virtue. You see only the body of Bodhisattva, wonderful sound, which is here. But this Bodhisattva manifests himself in various different bodies and preaches the sutra for the sake of living beings in various different places. At times he appears as King Brahma, at times as Lord Shaka, at times as the heavenly being Freedom, at times as a great general of heaven, at times the heavenly king Vashravana, at times as a wheel-turning sage king, at times as one of the petty kings, at times as rich man, at times as a householder, to times the chief minister, at times as a Brahmin, at times as a monk, a nun, a layman believer, or a laywoman believer, at times as the wife of a rich man or a householder, at times as a wife of a chief minister, at times as a wife of a Brahmin, at times as a young boy or a young girl, at times as a heavenly being, a dragon, a yakasha, a Gandharva, an asura, a guru, a kamnar, a marhaga, a human or a non-human being, so preaches the sutra. The hell dwellers, hungry spirits, beasts, and the numerous others who are in difficult circumstances thus are able to be saved. And for the sake of those who are in women's quarters of the royal palace, he changes himself into the woman's form and preaches the sutra. So it's talking about wonderful Bodhisattva, wonderful sound, and again about the amount of offerings that he's offered and how long he's been doing this, and just how much all his transformation bodies that he's appeared in, not all of them, but just examples of some of the different forms that he's transformed into lead people to preach the sutra.
So what do you think, Kemi, up to now, you think you may encounter Bodhisattva any times in life?
I'm sure I probably have.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Cô Thông Nguyễn, what do you think? You encounter Bodhisattva almost every day? You think so?
Yes, thưa thầy, definitely.
Mm.
I think everywhere I go, even when I think of the summer camp, without a Bodhisattva power, I would not able to walk to the US and meet all the wonderful kids. Also, yeah. Also, when I think about the life that I have until today, is I think I met a lot of Bodhisattva in my life. Otherwise, it would not possible.
Yeah. Well, William, you think you encounter them almost every day here?
So like in the way Kotang Yen described it as like non-physical, definitely yes. As far as like a person that I see in front of me being a bodhisattva, like I could see it as someone maybe like influenced through compassion and acting as a bodhisattva would. But as someone who is like an actual manifestation of a bodhisattva, I'm not sure, you know, because I would think that an actual manifestation of a bodhisattva would be Buddhist. And to know, like, if I try to make like a rigorous intellectual distinction, I mean, of, all right, when is that line where they're actually bodhisattva? I think perhaps, yes, I think so. But if I'm being like, trying to really be thoughtful and honest about it, I'm not sure about the physical part. Like, Tay, you have your influence in my life has been like that of a bodhisattva. I know it generally monks remain humble and don't claim any sort of titles, even though they may practice the bodhisattva precepts. So in that sort of sense, yeah, I've had yourself and Tikyao Phap, and then other Buddhist teachers that have played that role in my life, and then many other people who've just done things that have saved me from harm or have benefited me in some way. So if that's kind of like the spirit of the bodhisattva guiding something, then yeah, I could see that.
We talk about the spirit, right?
Mm-hmm.
More about the spirit of people who not exactly manifest themselves as the Bodhisattva, but they are embodiments of the Bodhisattva art, right? Spiritually. Yeah, thầy giáo Pháp. Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah, we can hear you. Thầy cầm cái...
Hello?
Yeah, okay.
Is that better?
Yes.
Well, I see the Bodhisattva more every day. They teach me a lot of kids, and right now I have the on-site. I teach them on-site. Around 20 some kids from K to 12. So we divide into 3 classes, and I give the 2 year the kindergarten to 2nd grade for someone to teach that. But I'm the one who provide the material, and the 3rd to the 5th I also give to the kid that C10 year grade. She be able to handle that, and I give her the framework and also the material to So I'm so her to how to teach, and she speak very well, actually. And I take care of the 6 or 7 tray above. And what I did is this time what I do is I give them a list of topic, the Buddhist topic, and I ask them to do the presentation. They do the research and they do the presentation. And you know what they did? Within 1 week, they be able to come back and show the presentation, and they stand up and present the presentation in very professional way. And so one. So before, when I teach them, usually what we do is most of the time we do the talking, and that means I think they can be able to gain the knowledge. It's not much, but when we give them the topic to research, this is how they learn. So so that is my bodhisattva. I have everyday bodhisattva.
In my Buddhist view, not only human beings but also animals or any kind of visible and invisible beings. At our center in Corden, we have 1 peacock, 1 dog, and 2 cats. And when the dog is still healthy, he used to run down to the hill to lift people up or to lift people down to the hill. But now he's too old. Now it's time for the peacock. Whenever people come, we make a sound, make a signal. Oh, someone come in. They make that peacock make I think at least 1 or twice make a call to let us know, oh, some guests coming now. So again, it's up to us. So spiritually, yeah, they manifest themselves in a Buddhist work. And if we have that type of view, we will appreciate whichever people help us, or even animal too. And
Yes, but I think that's true, because when I was in the US for the summer camp, and I really want to go back to the mountains, where I've been there 9 years ago for the Bodhisattva precepts. I really like the vibration there, but when I asked around, oh, nobody lives there, and I'm like, oh, how can I come there? Then one day they told me, oh, no worry, Suga is still living there, so we will deliver food for him. So thanks to Suga and all the peacock and the 2 cats, I was able to come there again. So for me, they are truly Bodhisattva, because I want to go back there.
But from time to time now, I may spend more time over there too. Yeah. Anyway, so again, that is the way that we broaden our mind to see things in the positive way. We view things in the Bodhisattva view. We stop limit ourselves with we have only some friends, some teacher. Everyone will be our teacher, our guardian, and we have each other. Okay, yeah. Cô Thân Nguyễn, please. Next one.
Yes, okay. Flower Witcher. This Bodhisattva wonderful sound can save and protect the various living beings of the Saha world. This Bodhisattva wonderful sound performs various transformations, manifesting himself in different forms in this Saha land, and preach this sutra for the sake of living beings. And yet, his transcendental powers, his transformations, and his wisdom suffer no injury or diminutions thereby. This Bodhisattva employs various types of wisdom to illuminate the Saha world, causing its one among all the living beings to acquire the appropriate understanding, and does the same in all other worlds, of the 10 directions with our numerous Ganges sands. Yes, so here again, the flower virtue, here again about the transcendental power and the transformation power of wonderful sounds Bodhisattva. This Bodhisattva has different type of wisdom and to illuminate the Sa world, the world that beings are now in this cycle, and also to all the beings in all the worlds of 10 directions. And the number as Ganges sands represent countless beings that in the Sa world. This is what I understand today.
Thank you. So with this type of view, right, we see everyone as a good teacher, good friends, and there's no bad people, right? There's no enemies. So that's why it leaves our mind up. Otherwise, whenever we still harbor the doubt, when they step out there, I don't know whether someone will come up and harm me, right, in opposite way, right, in a negative way. So that is so wonderful. That's why I told the group that I mean that when the youth came here, I told them that in my mind up to now, there's no enemy in my mind. So it's much easier in our own mind when we deal with other people. We make peace with ourselves. There's just no drug or no negative thought thinking about other people. It's so wonderful.
I want to share one thing. Yesterday, coincidentally, that I was in the party in Belgium, but this one is really special for me until now because we celebrate our group lead. He worked 25 years for the company, and the other member of the team worked 12 and a half years. However, in this event, we see clearly that this person has a great vision about how he selects the people, the young international team, to help each other, to share about the culture, to work together in a very direct and honest way to support each other. And he also mentioned that to be able to build the team until now, he select amongst all of his former team members to become group lead under him to be able to apply this vision in the department. So I see that when I was in this yesterday, I realized that how many people, they are working as a normal job, but they put their heart and their good vision to build up a good environment for people to work or to enjoy life, or they are all bodhisattvas. And there are, I'm sure, many people out there, they do small things to support others. Even the small act to share or to support others is already a bodhisattva act. And if we think like this, one human being or more or countless human beings, so the power of the bodhisattva is already always out there. And if we think positively about the world and about ourselves, we are connected to this power. And yeah, we should cherish these connections and still in our daily life. That's what I want to share today.
Thank you. That's wonderful. That's so important. How about you, Tammy? Having the power still vision, right, is so important in our life, right?
Yes, for sure. Because you create your own reality. So you want to create a pleasant reality, not one that's full of discord.
Yeah. How about you, William? When you deal with your patient, sometimes you encounter tough patient, right? But how could your positive vision overcome that type of friction then?
Yeah, you've asked me that a few times on these calls about difficult patients. Luckily, I don't get too many. It's generally people get upset when they perceive that like I've done something wrong. Like this man today, I did something wrong. I forgot our appointment, and he's a really busy guy. He drove. It took him 30 minutes to drive in. And there's no way I could have gotten there within a couple hours. I was at the Children's Museum with my family. And I just acknowledged it. I told him what happened. I told him I'd forgotten. It's the weekend. I'm not used to checking my calendar on the weekend, and it's totally my fault. I'll discount his next appointment. And he was like, well, can you refund my previous appointment? And this I'm like, why would I refund your previous appointment? Like, I was there, we accomplished something. So at first I said no, but then a second later I was like, actually, yeah, sure. No worries. I can refund your previous appointment. Like, it's not that big of a deal to me. I'd rather not have him angry. So I think one, just really like being willing to surrender what they want surrendered. I think is the key. If they're upset about something and there's something they want from me, if it's at all possible for me to give it to them, then yeah, I should just give it to them. Rather have that than them be upset with me. Yeah, or it's like a confusion, like someone who doesn't show up to an appointment, and so my policy is you show and you don't cancel. Just like I will discount someone's treatment if that happens, well then there's a charge if you do it to me. Usually I don't actually assess it. And once my receptionist assessed it to someone who'd already paid for a bigger thing, and we didn't really need to assess it, so we canceled it right away, and I called her and tried to explain it, and there was really nothing I could do. She was just bent on like, I don't want to have anything to do with you anymore, because it was like a $25 fee, and she had prepaid for like thousands of dollars of service. And with that, I think it's just like understanding that it's not personal. I think the hardest part for me is like how I like feeling bad about an outcome. But if I look at it clearly, like, okay, well, it was innocent on my part. It wasn't intentional. I do my best to make it better. And there's going to be some people who understand that and they forgive. And there are going to be some people who are unable to. And like, that's okay too. Maybe some point in the future, this life or a future life, I'll be able to, to make that better. So I think staying calm and being understanding.
And what do you say? The light attract the light, right? So if we have open-minded view of life, and we will attract those people. Plus, we can make things more easy. As a monk, I listen to many people, especially the one that used to complain, this person, that person. I just sat there and laugh at them. They, for people, they have all kind of conflict in their mind, in their own mind, and they could complain every single things. Everyone that encounter or interact with them, and that's suffering there. Right? So again, as long as we keep the hearts to mind, as long as we have open mind view of life, it's much easy. So that we can take care of the important things and let go of the trivial one. Otherwise, for me, it's crazy. If I look at everything, and if I look at every hair I have on my head, I feel sorry for those people that they so attached to little things, and they could not get over their attachment to little things, and that's why they suffer. But if we focus on the most important thing to solve or to deal in our daily life, and the other ones as a tool, it's much easy. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, William, please. Last one, please.
The first top paragraph,
Yeah,
or the
if,
middle one? If, okay. If the form of a voice here is what is needed to bring salvation, he manifests himself in the form of a voice hearer and proceeds to preach the law. If the form of a Pratyeka Buddha will bring salvation, he manifests himself in the form of a Pratyeka Buddha and preaches the law. If the form of a Bodhisattva will bring salvation, he manifests a Bodhisattva form and preaches the law. If the form of a Buddha will bring salvation, he immediately manifests a Buddha form and preaches the law. Thus he manifests himself in various different forms, depending upon what is appropriate for salvation. And if it is appropriate to enter extinction in order to bring salvation, he manifests himself as entering extinction. So, I think this is particularly interesting, because what this suggests is that the Buddha, the appearance of the Buddha, is also an expedient means used by the bodhisattvas. Because if someone needs the form of a Buddha, then a bodhisattva will manifest the form of a Buddha in order to satisfy the need of that person. Because generally, we think of Buddhahood as being the goal. We know that the heart of the Buddha is compassion, and the typical way of thinking about it is that Buddhahood is achieved through the Bodhisattva way. But it seems to be saying that once one's attained that deep, sincere compassion that they don't retreat from, they've been established in it, that, like, I don't know, perhaps in a sense they've already attained Buddhahood if this bodhisattva can manifest as a Buddha.
Yeah. So what do you think? Is there any contradiction? And let's say if we so sincerely to see the Buddha image that appear in front of our eyes, of course we would not. So is that conflict here in this passage? If he say that if someone really want to see the Buddha, so this Bodhisattva will manifest himself as Buddha, Bodhisattva, and so forth. But in our up to now, right? As Buddhists, up to now, we may not have seen any real Buddha, Bodhisattva, Arhat yet. Is that contradiction here? What do you think?
I don't think so. There's other stories about this that kind of answer that sort of question, about the need for persistence, the need for really deep sincerity. And I think, myself included, most of us, we don't actually give as much as we could. So when, if we get some sort of supernatural encouragement, that may come unbidden, but I don't think we should expect that we can, like, make it happen. There are lines in the Lotus Sutra that says if you do this specific practice, then you will, like, I forget which being it is that appears, but I don't think we've gone over that chapter yet in our talks. But like, if you recite the Lotus Sutra for, was it 21 days, or even just for 7 days, or like there's different activities that will bring that on. But if it didn't happen, I don't know that it would really work on demand like that, even though it says so in the sutra. The story I think of is about the monk, or not the monk, he may not have been a monk, but the practitioner who went to this temple towards Avalokiteshvara and practiced for some years and got discouraged and left. And when he left, like, he did this like 3 or 4 times. And the first time, I forget the order, but one time there was like a man trying to get rid of a rock by like rubbing it with a cloth. And the thought struck him that if, you know, someone would devote themselves so intently to a mundane activity like that, how can I so quickly let go of my practice because I haven't seen Avalokiteshvara? So he goes back and he practices more, and then he's leaving, and there's another thing that happens, and so he goes back. And the last time, it's like he ends up seeing Avalokiteshvara, but he doesn't know it at first. It's that the dog that's like back half is totally mutilated and it has grubs all over it. And he takes the dog and he's like cleans. He doesn't want to hurt the grubs either, so he cleans it off with his tongue. And the dog then, I think it transforms into Avalokiteshvara. But it's just like a symbol perhaps of this like really deep, true compassion being born in that person. And like that's seeing, I think that's how we can conceptualize seeing Avalokiteshvara, is if we have this radical compassion, then whether or not I think we actually see an image of like what we've seen of Avalokiteshvara, at that point it doesn't matter. If we've birthed really deep compassion within us, that's the goal. And then we don't really need a vision. The other last thing I would think is like, for those, I think this was the sixth patriarch. I think he said, for those who seek a vision of the way, right practice is the way. That if we're looking for some sort of sensory thing, it's, you know, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but really what would be better is if we look to really sincerely practice and not be concerned with that sort of like special reward.
Okay, thank you, William. Thanks for the story. But here, that story relates to Ira Ashenka.
Oh, it's Maitreya. Oh, why did I think it was Avalokiteshvara? Wow, okay.
Yeah, this is the story. Half of the body of the dog was, I mean, that it was sick, and they say it has some kind of cancer, but somehow Ashenka took care of that dog, and that dog manifested himself as Maitreya Bodhisattva. So tell me, have you heard about this story before?
No, I haven't heard about this before.
So again, in Buddhist view, the forms and the sound is not much important. Important is the practice, and important is to recognize your own nature, Buddha nature or not. And so let me tell you, I think I told you one thing before. My master has a student in Hong Kong. So he studied for 90 days to recite Amitabha Buddha names. That's a practice of standing and reciting the Buddha names for 90 days, means 3 months. And one day, so my master walked out and saw that he yelled. I mean that the student, the monk, yelled, "Oh, Amitabha, come in! Amitabha, come in!" So the master came and wake him up and say, "No, that's just why the boat flow came up to him." But in his vision, he saw Amitabha coming to him. So again, in Mahayana tradition, especially the Diamond Sutra, discourage us to seek for the form, to seek the Buddha, Bodhisattva, and Arhat in the forms, in the actual form or actual sound. It just remind us that we need to look back, look within ourselves to purify our mind instead of looking out of the form there. So again, go back here. There's no conflict at all. Right. So Bodhisattva and Buddhas may manifest themselves in any ways spiritually to help them, not really in the actual form, actual body. It makes sense, Tammy?
Yes, that makes sense.
Okay, so yeah, now since time is up, let us stop it today. All right, so next week we can Yes, cô Thân Nguyễn, please.
Yes, thưa thầy. Nam mô Sakyamuni Buddha. Nam mô Sakyamuni Buddha. Nam mô Sakyamuni Buddha.
Thank you. Yeah.